At 7 o'clock p.m. of the Zoning Board of West Warwick, on Wednesday, February 26th, 2020. Meeting called to order. First thing I'm going to do is our Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody please stand up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stay standing. He's going to do the prayer.
Lord, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
You see it?
Kelsey?
Here.
Amy Ortiz? Here. Alan Horrick?
Here.
Justin Kutu?
Here.
Richard Banks?
Here.
And Michael McPhillips?
Here.
The form on record.
Mr. Chairman, on this matter, there being 5 regular members, Amy will sit and be able to partake but not vote.
On the first petition. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do is see if there's any questions, commentaries, changes to the meeting, to the minutes of the January 29th, 2020 Zoning Board of Review. Does anybody have any comments, questions?
I did just,
Move that we accept the minutes as written.
I just wanted to make one
okay.
thing. It does say I'm not absent on that, on the minutes.
I thought you were in there too, it's absent.
I have NA as absent, but then it notes later that Amy Ortiz is sitting in my place.
It says NA, absent. Yeah, but it's right here, it says let the record show that Amy Ortiz is sitting at.
Yeah, no, I just figured it's a little confusing if it's not up top too.
I could fix
Can we amend that?
I mean, it doesn't matter to me, I just
it. I
figured
could
I'd.
fix it.
Okay.
And then the only other thing I had noticed was on the second to last page, where it said Richard Bank voted, and it just says N. I don't know if that was a typo, or I'm assuming it should be no, but that was it. Second to last page, where it came down to the votes on, let's see, motion to close the public hearing. Where Richard Banks, he'll be voting, and it just says N, there's no O after it, so it should just be no. But that was it.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
approved. That's it.
Okay. I'll fix those two things.
Okay.
Move to accept the minutes as amended.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Okay. First petition tonight is going to be petition number 2019-13. The applicant is Quality Realty LLC, which is a continuation to today from October. Owner is Keys Partners LLC, premises 40 Keys Way, plat lot 30, lot 51, zone is BP, Business Park. Proposed use, the applicant is seeking a special use variance for warehousing, general and refrigerated food processing and kindred manufacturing, processing or packaging under section non-resident use regulation LI. Food and kindred manufacturing, processing or packaging, and K6- warehousing, general and or refrigerated of the zoning ordinance of the town of West Warwick as amended.
Mr. Chairman, since there is new counsel in this, just to repeat what has previously been read into the record, that I have marked as exhibits, exhibit number 1, the application, exhibit number 2, the radius map, exhibit number 3, the abutters list, exhibit number 4, the site plan, exhibit number 5, the zoning certificate, and exhibit number 6, the tax collector's report. I repeat those only because there's new counsel involved.
Do we have a site report? Do we have that, the site location? From last year?
That's what I'm giving.
Yeah, that's all we got.
Anybody, is it?
I'm sorry.
Come on up, sir, come on up.
My name is Christopher O'Connor. I'm an attorney at Poore & Rosenbaum. Our offices are located at 30 Exchange Terrace in Providence.
Okay.
Here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Quality Realty, which is in essence Quality Food Company. We do have witnesses here to testify tonight as to the application. We have the owner We have a planner, Douglas McLean, an expert. We have a builder as well, and perhaps there's others who will testify. I was alerted, I had a conversation with the attorney for adjacent property owner that has raised an issue. I at least wanted to bring it to your attention at the outset.
Okay.
We had a conversation at 5:30 this afternoon, and Mr. Landry is here on behalf of the ownership of an adjacent property, which is the Comfort
Inn.
Hotel, Comfort Inn. And he and I have had a discussion about plan development review. We've had a disagreement about that, but we thought from a legal perspective, we would bring that to your attention at the outset. We didn't want to go through a meeting and through testimony to
Good idea.
only raise that at the end.
Excellent idea.
So I didn't necessarily know how you wanted to handle this. My understanding is this application has been vetted by your staff, by the planning department, by the building department. It's also, in our reading of the ordinance, is not required to submit to plan development review.
That doesn't need TRC because it's CI.
This
It's in
well,
that.
This is the first I am aware of it, and I have, Chris mentioned it to me just now out in the corridor. You know, I assume it went before the town planner who made the decision that it did not need development review. You know, I get two very well-respected attorneys out there that are in some kind of a disagreement, and Bill?
And thank you, Chris, for bringing up the issue at the outset. Bill Landry, I represent Hospitality Investments. They own the Comfort Inn that this proposal would wrap around with Bush and Kavanaugh, also at 30 Exchange Terrace on a different floor than my friend
So you guys meet each other in the elevator.
Mr. O'Connor. And like the lawyers, the owners of these properties also know each other and are in the development business and are sophisticated, my clients are sophisticated enough to understand when development should go forward and how it should go forward. And we have no objection to the underlying use. We recognize the use as a special use permit use. They've got a food facility, they're processing, there are a question about which use code it might be. But there's no question that they're conditionally permitted uses, provided that the criteria are all satisfied. Now, we had another proposal for this same site by the same applicant exactly a year ago, and that one involved construction, condominiums and so forth, and for some reason that never
That didn't fly.
went forward. Uh,
No, it did go forward. We had copies of that.
Pardon me?
We had copies of that here. It did go forward. It had to go through the building department and the planning department. And it may have gone through the planning board. We had copies of it.
Oh, no, I know it got to the board,
Okay,
but they
so-
never followed through on,
Well, it
Well,
was
it changed,
withdrawn.
it was withdrawn and you had
It
new
was
council
withdrawn.
now. That was new council,
But-
right?
well, it was a different
No, this
project.
is before that.
Just to be clear, different project, different movement. I believe the owner of the property had a purchase and sale likely with a prospective buyer contingent on approvals, just like we have a purchase and sale agreement.
If I might throw out a crazy suggestion to the two of you, in view of this situation, if Bill's correct, we gotta go over to planning. If you're correct, we don't. May I suggest if a month's continuance doesn't create a problem, that each of you send me and Mark just a simple letter as to what your positions are, and I'll discuss it with the town planner, because he's the final decision on whether it's gonna go development review. I mean, I'm just thinking that, you know, if we go through this hearing tonight, and later on we find out this was premature, you know, we could, it's putting the cart before the horse is what I'm concerned about. I leave, you know, I don't know what your time constraints are, or,
Sure, well, there certainly are time constraints on our end. May I have a moment to confer
yeah. I mean, if the board doesn't,
Well,
I mean-
before that happens, I think we need somewhat of a definition of terms.
Well, what you're looking to do, what, I mean, the
Right,
first project was.
first I think
Wait a
we
minute, hold on
need
a second, hold on a second.
Okay.
Hold on one second, please. The first project was a condominium unit, that is not going any further.
No, it was
This is
multiple
multiple
unit.
units.
Condominium storage, it was auto body, and
Okay.
it was warehousing.
But that was when there was a different attorney at
And
the time,
we
right?
had drawings
We
for
had
that.
drawings of that a
We
year
had
ago.
Buildings, drawings, and
Okay.
parking places.
Different attorney, different party moving
Yeah.
for completely different business, has nothing to do with us.
yeah, I don't think that's.
Okay.
That's
That's off the table.
Well,
That's off the table.
That's off,
Well,
that
there's no way
situation
of
from a year
us
ago is off
knowing
the
that.
table, long and short.
No, I just
Okay,
mentioned that
thank you.
that didn't go anywhere.
that's
This
not
is a
going
different
anywhere.
proposal.
So we got a
Well,
different animal now.
one of those parties that probably is not involved is still on one of your pages on here.
Yes, so the
Or
owner,
is that a bookkeeping
typo?
error? Is that a bookkeeping error, or is that true? Because it does say,
Randy's Auto is still on this.
But I think the question before the board tonight is that if they, and correct me if I'm wrong, either Bill or Chris, if they gotta go development plan, that's before this.
That's after.
that's, no,
No, it's
first.
before.
Oh,
They
before
go there
zoning,
before
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Before zoning, planning
I
first.
agree.
So all I'm saying is that if, depending on that outcome, you know, you may be deciding before it should be before
I
you.
totally agree, totally agree.
I would leave it up, you know, you filed, so you know, you can say we wanna go forward and take the risk, or you can, I mean, that would be my recommendation to the board, and,
so your recommendation is that the parties submit something, a legal position.
yeah, just
to you
so,
in writing.
because as I said, the final decision on whether it requires plan development is the town planners. And if he says, hey, they need that, then you people shouldn't be acting tonight. If he
That's
says,
fine.
you know, so my only concern is
Sure.
to go through all your witnesses and everything else.
I have an
And it'll be
abundance of
back to
caution,
square
by the
one.
best I get.
I mean.
Yeah, that's
I'll leave-
fine with me. I'm prepared to give the board the reasons why we think development plan review is required,
This
but
board can't decide
We
it.
can't decide that, that's not our purview.
I understand, and I don't want to run over my colleague, Mr. O'Connor, but I think this is an argument that really needs to be vetted for.
Yeah.
May I just have a moment to confirm
Sure.
with my client?
Of course.
Yes, absolutely. You can take a moment or two or three.
You know what, the next matter, Chris,
Yes,
the next matter is here for board decision only. There's no evidence, it's just here for a board decision. Why don't
take it out of order.
why don't we take the other matter out of order?
If you guys want to
Let the
discuss.
board, and
And
then after that, you come forward and make your decision.
Okay, will do.
That's probably the easiest thing to do.
That's a board's decision.
Yes, I agree with
I'm just
that.
making a recommendation.
Yeah, that's, we have to do a,
Yeah, you probably need a motion, right?
make a motion that,
Recess.
Make a motion to take the other matter in
make
out
a
of
motion
turn.
that we do petition 2020-2 now, and the other petition we do after we do the 2020-2 petition.
Yes, open up the order.
I'll make a
Open it up.
motion. I'll make a motion to move petition number 2020-2 up prior to 2019-13 and do them out of order.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Hold on one second. I'm going to go to the next thing, which is this. Okay, petition number 2020-2, which is continued from last month, 2026, to 26/2020. The applicant is Atlantic Capital Real Estate, Inc., owner is Tri-Town Construction Company, premises is the terminus of Nottingham Drive and Misty Oaks Court. Plat 12, Lot 31, Zone R10. Proposed use, The applicant is seeking a special use permit to construct 12 condominium buildings, each with 2 condominium units for a total of 24 units, multifamily, under Section 5.3, Table of Use Regulations, A.3, dwelling, multiple family, and R10 zone, allowed with a special use permit of the zoning ordinance of the town of West Warwick as amended.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
for the board and for members of the public, I think it's important that the decision of that continuance be read into the record. And that decision is that on January 29th, 2020, the above petition, having been duly advertised by the zoning board of review for the town of West Warwick, came on for hearing. Hearing had been opened on the petition, and the above petition was continued to 7-8 p.m. at the council chambers. The hearing was closed for public comment. The sole purpose of the zoning board of review members is for discussion and vote with no further testimony to be heard or evidence submitted, the public hearing having been closed. The reason to the board and to members of the public is since the public hearing was closed, any further testimony would be in violation of the open meetings law. So the sole thing that will happen tonight is the 5 members who were here will discuss why they're voting as they did, or as they're going to, and then take a vote on the matter itself.
Okay. So first thing we need to do, I guess, is make a motion that we actually act on the petition, right?
Yes.
So we want to make a motion to act on the petition?
I would make a motion to approve a special use permit. Petition 2020-2. There we go. Atlantic Capital Real Estate, Tri-Town Construction Company Incorporated. Plats 12, lots 31 in the R10 zone. Make a motion to approve a special use permit to construct 12 condominium buildings, each with 2 condominium units for a total of 24 units, multifamily. This will be under Section 5.3, Table of Use Regulations. A3 dwelling, multiple family and R10 zone allowed with special use permit of the zoning ordinance of the town of West Warwick as amended. Also include as stipulations the recommendations that were included from the planning.
Technically,
Correct?
yeah.
So I gotta make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
I have taken a few, well, maybe a few more minutes than I would have normally, but I have some information that I'd like to share with the committee.
That's fine.
Give me some history about the town, not specific to any project, and not specific to the applicant at all. And I'd like to.
So we're gonna get some history. We're gonna get a history,
A little bit
lesson
of
next
a
few minutes.
history lesson, yes. Yep.
Hold tight, sir. We're getting a history lesson. Is this gonna be a quick history lesson, or is this gonna be a long history
I
lesson?
don't know, it all depends how many questions you ask. The colored paper there.
We get too much time in the hands.
That was developed by myself, Ed Giroux, and Felix Apollonia at the inset and the origination of the tax commission for the town of West Warwick in 2003.
Does this have to, can I ask you a question before you move
It all
forward?
has to pertain directly to
Does this
condominiums.
Okay, does this pertain to the 5 bullet points that
Absolutely.
we have to abide by?
It pertains to the definition thereof so that everyone understands
Okay.
what those, hopefully,
Fire away quickly.
give you a better idea of understanding what those can mean to this town. And this is, okay. Very, very quickly, if you can see This is color coordinated. The listing down on the left-hand side are all the classes of categories, tax classes in the town of West Warwick. The colored portions indicate the classes that they are, and the top colors, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they fall into one classification as far as what zoning is concerned with. Those 4 classifications are down at the bottom over here. This is a new classification developed in 2013 for the town of, 2003 for the town of West Warwick. Prior to that, we had 1 tax class. As of 2013, we have 4. Again, classification versus category, tax category. The
How does
the
it pertain to the
condominiums.
5?
Okay. If you want this to be quick, Mike, you can ask all the questions you want, but it's not gonna be quick. The condominiums are classified with single-family homeowners and owner-occupied 2-family units. That's it. That's a classification, ownership versus non-ownership. There are other classifications, mixed use, commercial, industrial. There's one single line, the orange line, is for multifamily 6 units or higher. So all of this equals the tax levy in the town of West Warwick. If you go to the item that's underneath it, which is, I got this from Paula this week. This is an updated list, not in the same order that the colored is, but this is what's on from the town hall right now. This is what you can get. On classification number 1, you see the count for single-family homeowners is 5,849. Very quickly, it's 200 units more now than it was in 2003. The average assessment now is 211,000 plus. If you go down to classification 23, residential condominiums, it is now 1,480 condominiums. It's 254 more condominiums now today than it was in 2003. This gives you an idea that there's less single-family houses that have been built and added to the tax rolls than condominiums. Fact. Okay. See what else we can work with. You've got 3 pages over here that has, these are copies of the town ordinances. Page 16, page 21 and 28 are for the other application before us. Page 16 is for these residential uses as indicated by the applicant's attorneys. Section A, number 3, dwelling multifamily. If you look on the side where it has residential districts, you can have there's 2 or 3, there's 3 different categories. S, which is in R10, that's an R10 section, is an S indicated special use permit. Okay. If you look on the map, I know I gave you a lot of stuff, but this is a large map. I really couldn't get anything smaller. This is the zoning map in the town of West Warwick. The legend is up here. You'll notice that there's no legend for condominiums. What that means to us, or what that should mean as a history lesson, every single condominium in the town of West Warwick, bar none, every single condominium in the town of West Warwick had to come through zoning. Every single one. Because condominiums is not on the zoning map, is not in the big category. It's a special permit of single-family residence. Real quickly, I don't want to bore you to death, but
Here's the Reader's Digest version.
these are the numbers of condominiums that we have. I think there's something like 40 in that regard, for a total number of what we gave before, 1,400 units. Now, again, a lesson, history lesson, most of these units, condominium units, have probably gone through technical review. All of them have gone through master plan approval by the planning board before they get here. All of them have been approved by the town planner and the planning board. That review and that decision that the planning board makes is directly related to and part of, and in conjunction with finding the fact.
Pete, it's a concept. The planning department is a concept.
I'm not talking about the
Not
planning
the final.
department concept.
Not at final. Planning department, first step
Well,
is
you go for it.
concept. Final,
concept. The planning
final
board.
is the approval of the final plan with the drainage and everything else in engineering.
But the fact of the matter is, if you look on your, over here, I guess you got a I gave you a copy, and I think Paula put a copy over here. This is the decision of the planning board, that you have a copy. Stated October 11th, 2019. Tri-Town Construction is signed by Joe DiMartino, chairman. First page, item number 5. The applicant provided expert testimony and written reports which are accepted by the planning board in the areas of traffic, real estate, community planning, which found the proposed development would have no adverse impact on the surrounding area and that of the development in compliance with the town comprehensive plan. On page, and that's one of 8 aspects of that particular narrative. The planning office, that was the planning board. Planning office recommend granting master plan approval with the following stipulations. And there's A through P. On page 3, based on the foregoing findings of fact, the planning board voted unanimously to grant master plan approval with the planning office recommended stipulations A through P presented above. Generally consistent with the comprehensive plan, compliance with the standards of zoning ordinances, however requiring special use permit. There will be no significant negative environmental impacts from the proposed development. The development will not result in a creation of individual lots with the such restraint development that building on these lots according to pertinent regulations, building standards would be impracticable. The proposed development possesses adequate physical access to public street. Proposed development provides a safe circulation of pedestrian and vehicular traffic, adequate detention of surface water runoff, suitable building sites, preservation of historical. The proposed development will not result in any increased flooding or soil erosion. It was approved by 4 members of the board, signed by the president. So we have 4 members of the board. We have the planning department. We have the technical review committee that has looked at it and have found, before it comes to here, that it meets all the criteria. All the criteria stated. In the applicant's Stop and think, where are we at here? In the applicant's response, legal response to us. Oh, okay. Right on the application, right in the application, I believe. Oh, okay. I can't find it. We have the 5 items that Mike referred to, the bullet points, and we've
Yep.
referred to that right along.
Yes, sir.
In my opinion, I believe we need to have our solicitor go through and give us very specific information as far as what he feels that definition is. And it needs to be thoughtfully considered, because I believe there are consequences that may come of this. And the consequences, very specifically, since I've been on the board, I don't think we've ever been put in a situation of voting on something and then being brought to Superior Court.
I don't think I have either.
And my thought, what's that?
I don't think I have either.
Okay, well, my thought is that I really don't want that to happen now. I don't want that to be an expense for the town of West Warwick, for the taxpayers. So I think that we need to ask to have that definition more specific, the letter of the law,
No, I got the hard
described to us by our solicitor.
I'm not sure. In my reports, I kind of summarize
Yes,
what you must find.
yes.
The 5 points which you're all aware of. And I'm not sure, Peter, exactly what you're
No,
asking.
that's exactly what I'm
Okay.
asking you to do.
The thing is that those are to be factually decided, not based on, well, I don't think it's a good idea, but is it compatible with the neighborhood? It's your decision to factually, if you're gonna say it's not, why isn't it compatible? It's not compatible because you're gonna have high-rise buildings and everything is one floor. I mean, and I'm just giving you a wide-out thing so I don't get involved in this case. A nuisance to the neighborhood. There's gonna be a motorcycle shop involved. You know, I'm trying, those are, and I don't quite know how to get to it, but you've gotta say factually, why do I find it's compatible, or why do I find it's not compatible? And as I stated to you in one of my emails, I believe, is that in order to find that it should be granted, it must meet those 5 standards. If it fails to meet one of them, it's failed. But I don't quite know how to
Well, I
say.
mean, let's just, if we could talk about number 3, okay? I've stated many times, I've been on the council, I think it was specifically determined, probably from the comprehensive plan, that I think was completed in 2004, 2005, that the town was 95% built out. Well, it's much further than that now.
It's like 98. or
We all know
98.
that there are only a limited amount of land left in the town of West Warwick, more specifically the 2 golf courses. I understand in Ward 4, there's a piece of land that the owner is pretty much up in age and was looking to sell. And there is pushback from the residents in that area. I don't know all the litigations of it, but that's a piece of property that she's looking to sell I think someone's looking to develop it, and there's pushback on it. Well, the fact of the matter is, it's her property. The future development of the town, at best, for any development over 10 units, and I'm just ballparking, is almost negligible. The business park has a few more sites. I understand one is going to be for the solar energy farm.
Well, that's pending.
That's pending, but I'm just speaking large areas of the town. Anything put in any of these spaces, whether it be a golf course, whether it be at the end of Lancer Lane, it's gonna be a solar park, or Carlton Circle, anything like that should not be considered that it's gonna hinder further development. Anything now, there's only 4 or 5 parcels left. So hindering the development of the town is not applicable. It's not applicable. There's no sense to it, because if there's only 2 pieces of property, let's simplify it, 2 pieces of property left, and you wanna put one more development in there, we can't put anything in there, we only have 1 piece of land left. It's gonna hinder the development of the town because there's only 2 left, so it's not applicable.
If Peter, I mean, just, maybe it's not my place to, but I'm gonna be showing my age. The town, back in the 40s, grew up along the river. As a kid, East Greenwich Avenue, one of my classmates' father raised cows. The only place in the town that was wide open was the East Greenwich Avenue, that whole section. And then as a kid growing up, saw it expanding up Wakefield Hill, up New London Hill, and today, you people don't
It's a very
know,
derogatory term sometimes.
don't know the open space that was here a little while ago.
Couple of decades ago.
1940s. So, that has been the development of the town. If you look at it, it was the mill villages along the river,
Right,
and then it's moved out
expanded.
to the point where, as I said, think of where you could raise cattle or raise milk cows on East Greenwich Avenue.
If I may, I'd like to speak of another bullet point, or we can speak of all of them. Is compatible with the neighboring land uses. It was brought to our attention during the testimony of different people. From the testimony from the applicant with his professional expert testimony from a West Warwick resident, realtor in the area, that seemingly have different ideas of what their applications were, or what their thoughts were regarding the compatibility of this particular project in this particular location. I'd like to bring to the attention of the committee, first of all, when we're talking about, very quickly about value, the values that the realtor was talking about, the average sale price was based on all sales, not new sales, not new sales of condominiums, okay?
Yeah, the
The-
Greenridge and the Hidden Valley are gonna be a lot less, because they're 30 years old.
There's 30
The
is
average price,
probably-
the average price is ever gonna be like 175 to 180, 165 to 180. Like Joe's shaking his head, he knows that, that's what they were built 30 years ago, that's what you're gonna get for them,
That's correct.
okay? Now you get,
But if you-
you
but
get
if you're-
the
but if you're-
duplexes now, they're gonna go for like 250 to 300.
That's correct again, probably about 250 to 320,
Right.
somewhere
Right.
around there.
320 if you can really pump it up there.
Well, they're out there. The project that this board approved not all that long ago, I think Kent County Commons, it's diagonally across from the Kent County Courthouse. I drove in there the other day, there's 12 units, they all look alike,
Yep,
very nice.
and they all have that, and they all
All
have
with
direct.
the modern theme, there's a cul-de-sac at the end. I
Yep.
think there are 2 or 3 that may be unsold, so
But
there are,
they have direct access to Quaker Lane.
that's correct.
They have direct access to Quaker
But
Lane.
what does not have-
Villanovan has
does-
direct access to
Okay,
to
excuse me,
Wakefield
Mike,
Street.
let me continue, please.
Oh, this is a discussion, this is not a dialogue, it's a conversation.
Well, yes, well, if you
Okay.
want it to
It's
take
not a
longer,
monologue.
if you want it to take longer, we can stop and discuss every point. I don't have a problem with that. More specifically, one of the developments that this particular Realtor had mentioned last month, that she had exclusive sales rights to in Ward 4, which is Red Rock. Is it Red Rock, Red? I'll tell you the name of it. Hold on. See, they take my pages away from me. Red Brook Landing. Red Brook Landing is if you're going up Greenbush Road, you go all the way to New London Turnpike, you can go straight into Ward 4. There's, I don't know, about maybe 7 or 8 houses over there. You go a little further, in to the right-hand side, there's condominiums that go in there and go downhill. Those are fairly
Across
new.
from Greenbush?
Excuse me?
Across Greenbush?
Greenbush,
Across Greenbush,
across
New London
Greenbush
Turnpike.
Road. Across Greenbush Road, across,
New London
at the end
Turnpike.
of Greenbush Road, across New London Turnpike. I'm not sure the name
That's
of the
still
road.
West
that
Warwick?
goes-
That's still West Warwick?
It's Ward
That's-
4.
It's Ward 4 in West Warwick,
But it's
correct.
still the town, it's not.
Yes,
Still
yes.
the town, still the
Borders
town.
on Coventry.
Exclusively exclusively sold by this Realtor. That project does not come out to a major road. One of the newest condominium associations is Hilltop. Hilltop is across the street from Wakefield Hill School. Hilltop itself, the residential, single-family residential, probably is the largest valued
Yeah, without a doubt.
single property, single
Without a
family
doubt.
development in West Warwick as a group.
Absolutely.
The highest valued tax levied area in the town of West Warwick.
Guaranteed. Sure
At
is.
the back of that development is a new condominium association, Hilltop Condominiums.
I think that was a while ago.
It's not all that long ago. I don't have the, I don't know if Paula can figure out
remember
from
that one.
the stuff that she gave me. There's years in there
I don't
somewhere.
remember that one.
Paula's gonna look up the
Was it?
So, without going days on end to review all this information, there's 2 specifics, ironically, one that our Realtor had a direct association with, and then another on the top of Wakefield Street, across from Wakefield Street, Wakefield Hill School. There's a development, I think, much bigger than 24 units.
It was developed in phases.
It's what, please?
It was developed in phases.
Developed in phases. But what's the total number? I don't know if it's even completed. I really don't know. But I do know that it enters into an existing road in the single-family complex, which has, again, the highest value in the town of West Warwick.
Sure does.
So without question, we have at least 2 references that pertain to this application. Again.
Peter, can I ask you a question? So if we're going to take into consideration those developments, I mean, you're talking about Wakefield Street, which is pretty far away from Nottingham, and I understand the correlation you're making between the two,
Yeah.
but our focus is strictly on the Nottingham area.
Okay, well,
So,
I understand that, but it doesn't change the fact that the same type of application exists in West Warwick, happens to be Ward 1. The application that exists in Ward 4 is right around the corner. It's maybe a half mile tops, maybe a quarter mile by the crow fly to this location, 1/4 mile.
And you said that doesn't go out into a main
1,200
road?
linear feet.
You said the one across from Greenbush wouldn't exit into a main, well, London Turnpike is where it exits
exits into
into.
the road that I don't know the name of, and then it exits onto New London Turnpike. So again, the only thing that I'm trying to do, I'm trying to consider what we should be doing by the letter of the law. Okay, you're fine. I didn't have the time to look at all the dates because there wasn't any particular file that Paula could find to go to that has all of them listed. And the other paper that I gave you has all of the condominiums again listed at 1,400, I think 1,489. That's an increase, by the way, of about 15 condominiums per year since 2003. 15 condominiums per year from 2003 to 2019. 16 years, 250. I think the math is 15. I can't tell what the homeowners expect in the area. I knew that the homeowners did not necessarily want on the east side of Nottingham Drive. We disapproved the apartment complex that one company wanted to put in there. And many of the people there felt for the last 25 or 30 years, the only thing that they had is privacy. So they didn't want anything there. But you know how foolish that is. If they don't want something in their backyard, they have to purchase the land. If they have a company that comes in and wants to put in a go-kart area in the business park and wants to run it year-round, well, it might not be too successful in the winter months. But the fact of the matter is, we have an applicant that's in front of us that has, I would think, made a substantial investment, presents a special use permit that is in our ordinances, again, more specifically, Section A, number 3, I think I gave you the page before, it's in there, as in many other applications, whether it's a business park looking for an auto resale area or a large equipment sales area that we approved not too long ago. The special uses are in there probably by the hundreds. And these ordinances were started on or around 1956, Al? Back in the Bonero era and the Felix Apollonia Senior era. John Bonero Senior, Felix Apollonia Senior. You know, the town fathers did all this, and it's been approved and changed over the years.
August 10th, 1965.
Okay, so that's when the first printing, when all of it was finalized. By the way, I mentioned to Paula, if any of you do not have a copy of the zoning ordinance itself, it kind of looks like this. She'll have one for you. Not that we have time to waste, but you can thumb through it. I paid a little bit of attention to it within the last week or two, and I think it's something that we have to consider. Or there may be a consequence that I really don't think the town of West Warwick and the taxpayers deserve for us to not do the right thing and possibly to do something that may cost the town extra monies, possibly in Superior Court.
Mr. Chairman, in view of Mr. Calci's commenting on the sections of the zoning code, do you think that the discussion you and I had regarding dwelling units might be relevant?
Yeah, I think it's still relevant.
I spoke with Mike earlier this week or last week, whenever it was. Clarification on the zoning code. The zoning code only classifies residential districts. It does not in any way, the code itself does not create any type of resident, any one-family, two-family condominium apartment. It doesn't mention that. It says we have an R10, an R8, an R7.5, and an R6, residential districts of different sizes. It then talks about dwelling units, that in an R10, single-family dwelling units are permitted, two-family dwelling units, and multifamily dwelling units. Those are the only references made anywhere in the zoning code. And those references tell you which different type of dwelling unit is in each of the different residential districts. It then says that if you have a two-family dwelling unit in this particular zone, you need a special use permit to get it. Nowhere are you gonna find apartment, nowhere are you gonna find condominium. You're gonna see single-family, two-family, and multifamily dwelling units. So when you're talking condominium, don't go looking in your zoning code for where are condominiums allowed or where are apartments allowed. You gotta go looking for where are single-family dwelling units, two-family dwelling units, and multifamily dwelling units. Just Mike spoke to me, and I think that's, I'm always questioned, well, how about an apartment? They're gonna turn into an apartment. That's no difference. So I just wanted to, if any of you had a question on that.
Thank you.
Those things are found again on this form. It's on the tax rolls where you find that designation. The tax classifications.
So for clarification, it's compatible with neighboring land uses. We have to view that as residential dwellings, which section 5 is what you printed out for us, right, Peter? Is that what you gave us earlier?
I'm not sure.
It says R10, R8, R7.5, R6.
He's on the 3-page pack. The one where.
This outlines what.
That's right out of the zoning board.
Yep, this pretty much outlines exactly what Al was just
Yes.
speaking to.
Yep. Right out of the zoning ordinance. If anybody'd like to look through it, no, they can. I have this copy here.
Are you finished, Peter?
Oh, yeah.
Did you like this read? Oh, there you go.
So in going through the 5 bullet points, I'm agreeing with every single thing that you're saying, Peter. It is compatible with the neighboring land use. It's residential, it's in a residential neighborhood. Nobody's trying to put a bowling alley in. I don't have a problem with that at all. And as far as creating a nuisance in the neighborhood, I mean, we've seen testimony and evidence showing that this is something that the applicants have had studied. And the traffic was a really big concern for these residents. This development will create far less traffic than single-family homes, which is what's in the neighborhood now. And that seems like that would probably be the only other acceptable development of this property from what we're hearing from the abutters. As far as not hindering the future development of the town, holding land in reserve in order to not hinder the development of the town hinders the development of the town. Developing the town is what doesn't hinder development of the town.
Also, there is a provision when you have new units added to the tax rolls, whether it be single-family, apartment-style living or condominium, there is a provision to give open land of 2,500 square foot per unit to the town of West Warwick. If that's not available, they pay $2,500 into the general fund. It's either one or the other. I think in this particular case, that they're offering land besides the offering that they're making as, not as a buffer to their project, but land that could be a buffer to their project, that they're willing to deed and pay for all the expenses of the deed to 13 abutting property owners. So there's abutting land being deeded for their own buffer and can be used for resale, will increase the value of their properties. I believe there's properties that they're putting in, and I'm not 100% sure just where the property is designated on the site map, but there's quite a bit of land that's not being used for trails or whatever. There is water back there. There's what's described as a small river. I think the brook that,
Yes.
Hutchinson Brook?
I'm not sure what it's called.
Yeah. Something Hawk Brook, something, I don't know. Anyway, yeah. I agree. Please continue.
That's all I mean, the last two bullet points have not been a huge, point of discussion, so.
I plan to vote in favor of this proposal. I do find it is compatible with the neighboring land uses. Again, these are gonna be owner-occupied, single-family dwellings, which do coincide with the dwellings in the immediate neighborhood. Okay. But single-family in each dwelling, in each dwelling unit, single-family.
Owner occupied.
Right.
I think that's where I'm a little hung up as well, with the multifamily statement as well as the single family. So,
But, again.
I'm not done.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
All right,
interrupt you. I
okay,
thought that's what you had just mentioned, so.
Yeah.
The development will not create a nuisance in the neighborhood. Again, the biggest concern raised by abutters was related to the traffic. We heard expert testimony that indicated any additional traffic would be minimal, ranging from 11 trips in the morning to 14 trips in the afternoon and evening. And that additional traffic would be significantly less than if single-family homes were built on that site. Will not hinder future development of the town, and I believe it would have the benefit of making the town more attractive by offering additional housing options to one of the fastest-growing segments of the population, which is 55 plus. The development will conform to all applicable sections of the zoning code. The procedures and enforcement mechanisms are in place to assure that all codes are followed during the planning, design, and construction phases of this project. And I do find that the development is in conformance with the purpose and intent of the West Warwick Comprehensive Plan. Should I read everything, Al, or? I mean,
Yeah, you gotta put it in the record.
Okay. In particular, I would point to section 5 of the comprehensive plan related to housing. New housing developments that are compatible with the existing surrounding land uses and housing stock will create a safe and desirable neighborhood atmosphere. The quality, accessibility, and variety of residential structures will be maximized. Development of variety of housing in terms of cost, size, location, and design will meet the range and needs of and desires of homeowners and renters of all income groups and family sizes. The variety of housing options includes a range of types, sizes, and costs will be increased through public and private actions and joint public-private actions. Continuing under section 13, land use, speaks to small-scale residential neighborhoods will be protected from inappropriate development, including the intrusion of large-scale multifamily and commercial industrial uses. I do not believe this is a large-scale development, and the applicant is only utilizing a small section of the total area available to them. As we've seen in the plans, they're going to utilize approximately 6 acres out of almost 22 acres that are available in that parcel. The approach will also help maintain the majority of the lot as contiguous open space. This is a compact development to maintain the continuity of open space habitats and avert the construction of large amounts of impervious pavement and infrastructure. The town can encourage compact development. Building residential structures in a compressed area halts the division of expansive ranges, thus sustaining a variety of wildlife. It will also limit the need to build extra roadways of impervious pavement. Town can approve a zoning ordinance that allows cluster development of large residential parcels and compact development. Instead of permitting large tracts of land to be divided, as in a traditional subdivision with equally spaced parcels and a network of roads throughout the site, a parcel can be developed in a way that retains areas of continuous open space. The cluster development can develop with the same density as a traditional subdivision, but again will retain more open space and create fewer roads. So again, I believe that is what this development will accomplish. As Peter spoke to, the town's current zoning ordinance requires 2,500 square feet per dwelling unit be set aside as open space for multifamily housing developments consisting of 5 or more acres. This ordinance does not mandate that the open space be contiguous. Maintaining contiguous areas of open space is an important part of ensuring the open space benefits wildlife and reduces impervious infrastructure. And again, as we spoke and as we heard the testimony, the developer plans to deed that extra land either to the abutters or to the town of West Warwick or some such other entity as may be designated. West Warwick, again, speaking to, I think, what Peter was getting at earlier, is a densely populated community, yet it does have areas of natural open space. Currently, some of these areas do not have public infrastructure, but the town zoning regulations allow them to be developed with multifamily housing by special use permit. The town should reevaluate its zoning to establish specific criteria to qualify for multifamily housing. This criterion should be designed to consider availability of utilities, roadway access, and the general development patterns of the surrounding area. It should also be designed to protect large undeveloped open space areas and environmentally sensitive areas, including areas near the river and its adjacent water bodies and flood zones. Town should encourage residential infill development in locations where public infrastructure and other land disturbance has already occurred, thus compacting development in previously established areas. The area is currently surrounded by residential development, and this does include public infrastructure such as roads, sewers, fire, etc. This plan does compact development in previously established areas while also preserving the contiguous open space for wildlife. So those are my reasons I would be voting in favor to support this.
You're up, Rick.
Very well articulated, Alan. Thank you. As I stated a moment ago, the piece I'm struggling with is the multifamily versus single-family home. However, after looking at Section 5, the West Warwick Code, and having to follow the letter of the law and follow the code, it does say, number 3, dwelling multifamily, applicable. As far as the other 4, will not create a nuisance in the neighborhood, will not hinder the future development of the town. I think that's been pretty much discussed here tonight and in depth. And I actually agree with the outcome of those that all of my colleagues have given. Will conform to all applicable sections of the zoning ordinance, is in conformance with the purposes and intent of the comprehensive plan. It's still that number 1 that was my issue. But having looked at this and having looked at the information that's been brought forward and in my research over the past few days, it seems we have no choice as to grant the special use permit for this project, so I'll be voting yes.
Well, I'm the last one. And I'll kind of be short and sweet because I kind of know where we're going. Okay. very interesting case here, and this board in the past has approved multi-family age-restricted developments. But to get to these developments, you don't have to drive through residential neighborhoods to enter them. As for an example, Greenbush Development, you go on to Greenbush Road. Villanova, you go on to
Wakefield Street.
Wakefield Street. Kent County Commons, you go on to Quaker Lane. Okay? The only issue that I would have is the compatibility with the neighboring land use. And as I drove down the neighborhood half a dozen times, 6 or 7 times down, make sure I get it right here. And the reason I'll be voting no, the only no vote on this petition is not compatible with the land use. The reasons for this is the neighboring land use are single-family dwellings, not multi-family units. And the reason I say that is because as I drove up Nottingham Drive half a dozen times, and Crossbow Lane another half a dozen times, and then I left onto Drawbridge Drive, and then I left onto Misty Oaks, all I saw was single-family dwellings, unattached homes. So, that's why I'll be voting no. That's fine. Roll call vote.
Peter Kelsey,
Yes.
Amy Ortiz,
Yes.
Alan Hart,
Yes.
Richard Banks,
Yes.
and Michael McPhillips.
No. Petition passes.
4-1.
Take a read the break.
Okay.
Did you stop with the photo?
Sure.
I have a copy of that. I can have it.
Is this from? Or these all your notes? From the comprehensive plan for the most part? I used to have it, I don't have it tonight with me.
I can't write that fast.
Al has it.
I can't listen that fast.
What's that?
And I just wanted to have it. Unless Mike doesn't want it.
Which one?
That.
Well, yeah, that's what he wanted to say, he needs that. Al needs that, what he just said, he needs
Yeah, I'm
that.
making a hundred bucks.
Al has it, I think.
Are you gonna take that?
Push what?
What Peter gave you?
What, this thing?
You got a packet?
This thing?
The whole thing?
You can have that. If you want it, you can have it.
No, just in case if somebody
I
asks.
feel
me.
very confident
I
that you're
have
looking
it.
at it anymore.
Is this everything? Minus the-
No, that's everything. It's everything except all the stuff that you gave.
I don't, just in case if somebody.
Yeah, this is
requests it, I
all
have
yours,
it.
this is all yours.
Okay.
That's just handwritten stuff.
I'm gonna go make a document to Al, I guess. Okay?
Well, the only, the thing
Yeah,
that
he
really
wanted,
didn't
he
talk
wanted one. He wanted one from each of us, yes.
This?
Yes, he wanted that from every one of us. I'm sure if he did that, he has it, I'm sure. I feel very confident that man has it.
Okay, cool, thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm not sure who testified.
So what are we doing now?
Somebody testified.
What did these two fine gentlemen discuss in the last hour? Probably took them like 8 minutes instead of an hour. We have to wait for us to know.
Except for up above.
Diligently go into the ladies' room.
It's all the tree line. All
I think that's wise. If you could get us any kind of documentation for next time, that'd be great.
Sure,
If you could, like, what do you wanna do, and all the plans and all that kind of stuff.
put it on the record.
Yeah, if you could get that to Paula, if you could get that to her, so we can look at it prior to you coming, that'd be helpful.
No, Mike,
What?
what they're gonna do is they're gonna contact me and Mark.
Okay,
It's his basically decision that I'll look at the legalities of it.
okay,
If he decides that Bill's right, then they're gonna go through him first. If he decides no, then Bill's at his remedies and it'll come back to you.
I don't think we have any documentation of what you guys wanna do.
Okay,
I don't think. We have documentation from a year ago. I don't think you're doing that project, right?
Right.
From a year ago.
Yes.
No, I think
I think you do.
you're mixing the two up because he had brought up an example of something that
that's
was
got
there
nothing to do
before.
with
It's got nothing to do with this.
They're just here for the,
It's a special use permit, it's, yeah,
Right.
it's,
that's what you're involved in.
Right, I understand
Before
that.
we're not.
I understand that, but we haven't seen any drawings or anything. Don't we have to take around and get
They've
that?
all been submitted.
they have been submitted.
If you break the microphone, we deny it. All I have is what I gave you guys.
A year ago?
This right here from September.
Okay.
From September, that's all I have.
Well, why don't you get another copy to them?
I have 2 copies of it.
Can,
So.
and
Oh, you
bef-
do?
I have the original, I just gave it to Mike, and then I have the one you provided today.
before I leave, I'll check with you with what you have as well.
Dated 9/27/19.
Make sure we're all on the same page.
It's got a- it's got a-
And Paul, you said this is all you have, so there's no plans inside this packet.
Right?
Well, they're little. And I think
Oh.
that's the one that Peter Kelsey said that.
The one that says Randy's Auto Ltd on it?
Don't go.
This one doesn't.
Yeah, and this one does.
No, no public comment on this one yet. I'm gonna continue it.
And these were the ads.
There's one more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is just the topographic.
But there's no,
There's no,
I guess that might be what they built, I don't know, but I could draw that. Okay.
are we back in action?
Do you want, I'll give you a copy.
I don't need one.
You don't?
Do I have to read it again?
No, just open it up.
Wait.
Are you ready?
I did turn that on, yes. It's recording.
Okay, meeting call back to order again.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
during the break, I've discussed the matter with both counsel.
Okay.
The situation is such that they're at a junction now where the town planner has to be make a decision.
Okay.
That decision has to be, if Mr. Landry's correct, it's gotta go to planning before it can come to you.
Okay.
If the town planner says no, it can come back to you. Mr. O'Connor said, okay, he's willing to come back next month.
Okay, is it?
In that situation, then Mr. Landry will have to decide what legal steps he may take. But you can go forward because the town planner has said he doesn't want any part of it. Is that correct, Chris?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes, thank you.
So I would suggest at this point in time that a motion be made to continue the matter to
A period certain.
date certain, March what,
23rd.
25th.
March 27th at 7 PM here in the council chambers, pending a
Look at it on my
report,
phone.
pending a report from the town planner.
Sorry.
Hold on, you just,
I got some medication.
I believe that you only meet Wednesdays, correct?
Yes, last Wednesday of the month.
So I think the last Wednesday, so correct me. I think
Yeah,
It's a 20.
once it gets
I think
on,
it's the
It's the
25th.
25th, it's on my calendar.
25th.
Okay.
By doing that, you won't have to re-advertise.
Thank you.
March 25th.
Can you imagine what we did before we had these? I didn't know what day it was.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, all right, wait a minute, we have to approve, right?
I would
You have to
make a
make a
motion.
motion.
Before, we
you
have
have to
to,
wait for Pete?
we have to wait for Pete, we gotta wait for the fifth voting member.
So Alice,
No, you can, four can vote to continue.
Okay. Make a motion.
I would make a motion to continue this till period certain, March 25th at 7 PM in the West Warwick
I'll second it.
Town Council chambers.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Before we dismiss it, would it be proper for me to ask one of the two outcomes, when they come back, are they gonna be having, or are we gonna be requesting, or I should say, are they gonna be giving us information regarding the type of building
Yes,
where it's
Yeah.
gonna be
Like,
located.
like some kind of site plan? I
Trucking.
mean, I know you got a circle with a site plan, but
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
we will, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Obviously, with the next door neighbor of your property is probably interested in certain things like decibel level
Sure.
things, and also one other, you're representing the warehouse facility, correct?
Yes,
Okay. Am I correct to understand that it's Quality Beef, Quality Realty, one and the same?
yes.
Okay. Quality Beef, everyone recognize that, know that? I'm a former supermarket manager,
Okay,
so I know it very well. That being said, I'm interested, very interested, and I'm gonna use the term rendering. I'll let you look up the determination of that,
okay,
the definition, and I'm interested in that.
okay. I'm familiar with it.
Very important item.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
take care.
Motion to adjourn,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it. Meeting adjourned.
Hey, Bob.
Slaughter,
Can you shut everything?
byproduct,
Oh, yeah,
there should be no slaughter in that property.
Thank you.
That's not packaging.
You're welcome.